All right, let's jump right in. Today, we are digging into one of the most explosive stories of 2025, the absolutely incredible surge in the price of silver. It's a fascinating tale where technology, scarcity, and money are all colliding at once.
So, first things first, just look at this number. Silver just smashed through $58 an ounce. Now, for a metal that was stuck in the teens and 20s for years, this is, well, it's monumental. The big question on everyone's mind is why, and why now?
And let me be super clear about this. We're not just talking about some temporary blip on the radar. No way. We are looking at a new, historic, all-time high. This feels like a structural repricing, and it is making headlines all around the world.
Now, just take a look at this performance. I mean, wow. Silver is up nearly 100% just this year. It's not just beating gold, which, let's be honest, is having a fantastic year itself. It is absolutely crushing traditional investments like the S&P 500. This isn't just a rally. Silver is making a statement. Okay, so let's get into the why. Because the real heart of this story, it doesn't start in a bank vault or on a Wall Street trading floor. Nope. It starts in a place you might not expect at all, the clean energy revolution. So what on earth is devouring all the world's silver? Well, the short answer is photovoltaics. The massive global push for solar power has accidentally turned into an absolutely insatiable machine for physical silver. Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. It's all about the tech. For years, the standard solar panels used about 10 milligrams of silver for every watt of power. But the whole industry is upgrading to these new, way more efficient technologies. The only catch? These new panels need anywhere from 30 to over 100% more silver. So a simple tech upgrade is causing this just exponential surge in demand. And you can see the impact right here on the market. Just 10 years ago, solar was, what, a tiny sliver of the pie, maybe 5%? Today, it's over 14% of all global silver demand, and it is by far the fastest growing piece. And this demand isn't optional, right? It's literally essential for the green transition. Okay, so the obvious question is, if demand is going through the roof, why don't we just, mine more of it? Well, the answer is kind of silver's dirty little secret. It's what economists call inelastic supply, which is just a fancy way of saying you can't just turn on the tap, no matter how high the price goes. Okay, you have got to understand this next part, because it's a total game changer. A staggering 80% of the world's silver doesn't even come from a silver mine. It's a byproduct. It gets pulled out of the ground when miners are really looking for copper, lead, and zinc. So think about it. A copper miner isn't going to dig a whole new billion-dollar pit just for a few handfuls of silver. Their decisions are based on the price of copper, not silver. That's why the supply is so incredibly stubborn. So what happens when that unstoppable demand crashes into this immovable supply? You get a massive structural deficit. Over just the past 5 years, the world has used 820 million more ounces of silver than it's produced. And if that number doesn't sound like a lot, let me put it this way. That is like the entire world's silver mines shutting down for a full year. Every single one. An entire year of global production, poof, gone. We've effectively burned through a whole year's worth of future supply just to cover the shortfalls of the past 5 years. The world is just draining its stockpiles. Hey, just a quick pause. If you're finding this explainer valuable, do me a quick favor and hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps us a ton. And make sure you won't miss what's coming next. All right, so how do we know this shortage is real? I mean, beyond the numbers on a spreadsheet. Well, the market itself is basically screaming at us. You just have to know how to listen. And that scream comes in the form of a rare thing called backwardation. It sounds complicated, but it's actually simple. Imagine you'd pay $5 for a cup of coffee in your hand right now, but only $4 for a promise to get that same coffee tomorrow. Why? Because you're desperate for it today. That's backwardation, and it's a huge sign of physical tightness. Yeah, this backwardation, it's the market's smoking gun. It tells you that the big industrial players, the ones who actually use the metal to build things, they don't trust the paper contracts for future delivery anymore. They're shouting, "Give me the physical metal and give it to me now." And they're willing to pay up for it. And you can literally watch the vaults draining in real time. In London, which is the heart of the global precious metals trade, the inventories in their main vaults have just plummeted. They're down almost 30% from their peak. The silver is physically leaving the building. And it's the exact same story in Shanghai, which is ground zero for solar panel manufacturing. The warehouses there are reporting their lowest silver inventories in over a decade. The very country that's driving this whole demand boom is now facing a local supply crunch. Now, as if this historic physical squeeze wasn't enough drama, there's another major factor. The global economy is about to pour a whole can of gasoline on this already raging fire. So on one hand, you've got the U.S. Federal Reserve, with Chair Powell trying to play it cool, saying a rate cut is not a given. But the market is not buying it. They are betting with 87% certainty that a cut is happening. The big bet is that cheaper money is on the way. And this right here, this is the perfect monetary storm. First, lower interest rates make holding an asset like silver that doesn't pay interest a total no-brainer. Second, all the geopolitical chaos in the world makes investors run for traditional safe havens. But here's the real kicker this time. That industrial demand we talked about, it puts a rock-solid floor under the price. It's an incredibly powerful 1-2 punch. So, it all leads to this one final really big thought. Silver is having an identity crisis. It's a critical tech metal, but it's also ancient money. So when a metal that we absolutely need for our future becomes this scarce, what changes first? The technology that depends on it, or the financial system that we use to price it? Something to think about. Thanks for watching.